calling the matters of the people versus Timothy Talley Williams. Appearances for the record, starting with Mr. Williams, who's representing himself. It's okay, Attorney Vinek. He's representing himself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Williams, can you state your name for the record, please?
Timothy for the record, here by special visitation.
All right, and this is the date and time set for a final pretrial in this matter. We are scheduled for a jury trial on Monday. Attorney Mason has tendered to the court a witness list in this matter, as well as a special jury instruction served for you to be able to see in this particular matter. And let me ask again for the record, you have the right to have an attorney. Would you like to have an attorney for you in these matters, sir?
Well, for the record, I'm here to serve a default judgment. I serve you, Andy Mason, the affidavit. Back.
You did, and I'm in receipt. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
Yes, on the first, and I gave you 15 days. All in, it was 23 days I gave you, and I haven't received a rebuttal. So I served you guys with a default.
I don't know what a default is. So there's no default judgments in criminal matters. These are criminal matters.
Judge, the core issue here is that he genuinely believes he has standing in a fictitious legal system of his own invention, an imagined government recognized only by himself and the imaginary officials he claims populate it. In his view, because you did not respond to the pseudo-legal documents he produced under that fantasy framework, he interprets your silence as grounds to issue what he calls a default judgment. Having observed numerous sovereign citizen incidents, I can confidently say this situation follows the same familiar pattern of misapplied legal terminology, self-declared authority, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how legitimate jurisdiction and due process actually operate.
So the only default that we have is if you don't appear to answer for a ticket, then the default that goes into place is your failure to answer for a ticket. Once it's established and it's here, I don't have to establish why these are tickets on the docket. That's why they have the jury and the bench trial options for you. These have been matters that have been, unless there's been a motion about a formally written motion about illegal stop or some constitutional violation, these tickets are considered to be valid and true.
No, I answered an affidavit of non-corporate existence.
So Mr. Williams, the answer to the question today is whether you're going to trial on Monday or not. That's all I'm here for.
Well, you guys haven't rebutted my affidavit.
Mr. Williams, again, I'm gonna say, Mr. Williams, again, the question for today is whether you're going to trial on Monday or not. That's all. I have officers present. I have officers Evans present. I have Officer McCree present. I don't know if Officer Bush is coming as well, but they are here today to know whether or not they're going to be ready for trial on Monday. We set this jury trial out a long time ago for this trial on Monday. So are we going to trial?
Officers? What officer?
We have Officer Evans and Officer McCree present today.
And Judge, I have Officer Nunley. He's trying to check in right now. Faison Nunley.
Officer Bush is here also.
Thank you, Officer Bush.
Good
I didn't see. Good morning. Oh, it's Evans Williams. Okay, say thank you, Officer Bush.
Okay, we go to trial.
Okay, so Monday we go to trial. Do you have a witness list or no, it's just you, Mr. Williams?
Yes, I have 3 witnesses.
Anything else you want to say for the record, Mr. Williams?
No, that'll be it.
Okay, all right. So you have a drive unregistered, untitled motor vehicle and drove while unlicensed, and a no proof of insurance. That's one officer. The next officers are open alcohol driver, tinted windows, no seat belt, no driver's license, no insurance, untitled motor vehicle. And then the final officer is going to be drive unregistered motor vehicle, no insurance, no license ever acquired, and tinted windows. Okay.
And Your Honor, if I may interject, since he does have an email, I can copy those tickets and email them over to him
Please.
so that he can have them. I'll come down and
Thank
get those. And I will
appreciate
email
it.
those tickets over to you, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
So that way
And
you can see what
for
the
the record,
tickets
are we able to argue these matters right now, or are we going to trial? Is
You
it
said
possible
you
we
want to
can-
have a trial. What you want to argue?
Yeah,
You
but
want
I'm
to talk
saying,
to
like,
Attorney
I'm-
Mason?
What was that?
I said you want to talk to Attorney Mason just briefly in a breakout room and see if y'all can resolve any of the tickets.
Well, we was just emailing, and I don't know if it meant anything to her, so that's why I wouldn't just take it to trial. And
Well, because you can't say I just want you to dismiss it because I'm not a citizen. That's not gonna work. Or I just want you
Oh
to
no,
dismiss
that's not it. I got laws stating that all this is frivolous, but I'm saying, can we argue this right now, or do we?
A lot of people would say the laws are frivolous. Well, yes, if you have some argument that you would like to make, you can make it that way. I can rule, and that way we can go to, if we're gonna move forward to trial, we can go to trial. Yes, Attorney Soroki.
Yeah, if you like, I could speak to Mr. Timothy Williams in a breakout room for a few minutes, explain the legal system to him.
Yes, can you?
No, sir.
Do you want to make your argument first, Mr. Williams, or do you want Attorney Soroki? Just he wants to give you a little feedback. That way you'll be prepared for Monday's trial. No? All right. He doesn't want it, Attorney Soroki. Thank you, though. Back on the record in the matter of the People versus Timothy Williams. Can I have appearances? First, Attorney Mason, then Mr. Williams.
For the record, Your Honor, Diachiku Mason, City of Detroit, 43471.
All right. Mr. Williams.
Yes, Timothy before the court, hereby special appearance
All
as
right.
a state citizen, not a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Changes every time. All right, you want to make a motion, or you want to make an argument as to these tickets? You can go ahead at this time, Mr. Williams.
Okay, for the record, hold on. For the record, Shapiro versus Thompson states that all citizens must be free to travel throughout the United States, uninhibited by statutes, rules, or regulations, which unreasonable burden or restrict movement. Did you get that?
I'm listening. I'm just writing down. You see, I got my notepad.
Okay.
I'm writing down notes.
And then the Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court decided that a state cannot arbitrarily or erroneously convert a secure liberty, in this case, the secure right to travel, into a privilege and charge of or issue a state can't arbitrarily or erroneously convert a secure liberty into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it, meaning we don't need license or insurance to travel throughout the land. And Murdoch versus Pennsylvania states no state converts secure liberty to a privilege. No, Shuttlesworth versus Pennsylvania. No, Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, Alabama. You can ignore the license and engage in the right with impunity if you happen to have a license. And back to Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, no state may convert a secure liberty into a privilege. So no state has a right to require you to have a license. Hold on.
Perhaps it would serve everyone better if you took the time to actually study the relevant material before returning to court, because nothing you've presented reflects any new or meaningful authority. You continue to rely on the same handful of misapplied cases that are routinely cited in sovereign citizen style arguments, yet none of them establish what you claim, particularly when it comes to the lawful regulation of operating a motor vehicle. Repeating familiar citations without demonstrating how they legitimately apply to the facts at hand does not strengthen your position. It only highlights a fundamental misunderstanding of the legal framework governing driver licensing, roadway use, and statutory compliance.
Okay, so that's your argument as far as no state can force you to have a license
Required.
because it's a constitutional right to travel.
Which is our First Amendment.
So this right to travel was about a welfare case, Mr. Williams, where she wanted to go to a different state, and they told her that because she didn't have established residency in that she was going to be denied services.
Right, and that violated her.
Right, because it's talking
Right to
about
travel.
services. She needed to take care of her child. She was 19 and she was pregnant.
But you avoiding the effects of the case. Even though that she filed a lawsuit against the state for denying her privileges, but the Supreme Court ruled that the Supreme Court ruled that can't happen because that also be violating her right to travel throughout the states, throughout the
to
land.
receive the benefits that she needs in order to take care of herself and her child.
Yes, but you're missing the argument that the Supreme Court has stated. That'll be violating her First Amendment right. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Travel. You see that ruling? I don't want you to miss that fact. That's what they ruled.
They said the closest the Supreme Court has come to overturning Shapiro Thomas was in 1995 with Anderson versus Green, California Welfare and Interstate Code annotated section instituted a 1-year residency requirement for welfare aid, violating Shapiro versus Thompson. Both lower courts in California affirmed that it violated Shapiro versus Thompson and granted an injunction. I'm sorry. Due to the procedural issue, California's residency requirement never went into effect, creating no justifiable controversy action and no actual issuance for the court to rule on. Whether they receive a waiver from the Secretary of Health or Human Services to set aside Shapiro versus Thompson, making the residency requirement pseudo-legal, the waiver was challenged again, and it's holding that the state court and the Secretary of HHS had not adequately considered public comment on the issues. So this just talks solely about, even talks about the social impact. The social impact and the legal impact is that you can go different places, and we as the governments of each state still have a requirement to take care of those citizens within our state. This is about welfare. Yeah, this is about the welfare system and the ability for people. You cannot stop people from traveling. I don't see anything in here about a driver's license.
The decision of the court.
Right, she has the right to go places.
Look, the court reaffirmed the right to travel under the 14th Amendment Privilege and Immunities Clause in Suez versus Roe. So they conferred it to another case. But the conclusion of the case like that would be violating her right to travel. It can have something to do with the welfare, but it's violating her right to travel.
It's all about that. Because the reason why we can't prohibit her from being able to travel or to go to another state is because then they're saying once she gets to that state, she has to establish some type of residency. And what they're saying is that if she doesn't have that residency, she wouldn't get the services needed. And so they're saying you can't say, oh, you can't go to this state and not get the stuff that you need to take care of yourself and your family just because you're not. I can't stop her. I can't say you can't move to this state and then we're gonna block everything. I can't do that. Right. This is not about a license.
Which will violate the right to travel.
No.
That was the decision of the court. I'm not making that up.
You aren't, but you're not understanding what their decision was based on. Yes, you have the right to travel, but this is concerning services.
So if I chose to carry a weapon, I will be bearing arms.
If you
But
chose
y'all
to carry a
call it,
weapon in the state of in Illinois, that's an automatic. You're not allowed to carry weapons at all in the state of Illinois unless you're a law enforcement officer. So if you traveled over the state lines and you went to Illinois and you tried to carry a gun, they would tell you no.
But that's irrelevant, Your Honor. We're talking about the state of Michigan. I have a right to bear arms, but you will call it receiving
Exactly.
But the
Well,
Constitution of Michigan states that I can bear arms, but
because once again, and we had this conversation already, the states can make stuff more, the localities can make stuff, they can, and it's a state law anyways, but they can be harsher than the US Constitution, but they can do something that would take away from the US Constitution. So they're not taking away your right to bear arms, they're just putting parameters around that right. And recently it was challenged at the Court of Appeals when someone tried to say that the people have the right to bear arms and that seeing a bulge or doing stuff like that didn't equate to it. And the Court of Appeals has said and ruled that does give probable cause for an officer to ask about whether or not they have the licensing, because the state has determined that they need to have the licensing. So if the state determines that there needs to be a certain licensing in place and that rule or that is violated, then that has to go forward.
But that's kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
And like Murdoch versus Pennsylvania say no state can convert a secured liberty into a privilege.
Just as with Shapiro v. Thompson, citing Murdoch v. Pennsylvania here demonstrates a fundamental misapplication of precedent. Murdoch is not a right to travel case, nor does it address licensing requirements for operating motor vehicles. It is a First Amendment freedom of religion decision concerning a municipal tax imposed on individuals distributing religious literature door to door. The Supreme Court invalidated that tax because it burdened the exercise of religious expression, not because it implicated any issue related to vehicle operation or licensing. Attempting to stretch Murdoch into support for a driver's license argument is therefore entirely misplaced, akin to relying on a cookbook to interpret constitutional doctrine, because the case simply does not speak to roadway regulation, licensing authority, or the legal obligations that govern the privilege of driving.
Our secure liberty, First Amendment, is the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Right to travel throughout the United States of America.
Right.
Freely and unencumbered. We're not causing harm to anybody. We just obeying the constitutional rights. Exercising our constitutional rights. Which is the court is here to help protect them. I'm relying on the constitutional rights. I'm not just out here willfully nilly, like United States versus Bishop.
But you are, because you're only taking the part that you want to be applied to you. So you are out here willy-nilly. Because if you were following, if you were following everything, you would want to follow everything and all the rules that were put into place. So all that
I'm following laws, not
following what you want to follow. And that's no. We talked about how that leads to anarchy. People can't do whatever they want to do. They say that I can follow only this. That's like me coming one day and saying I want to practice law and I want to be a judge, and I haven't gone through any of the things to become a judge. That's not how it works.
I see how you
I
put
can't
it,
sit
but
up
that's
there with
not.
a fake P number. They wouldn't let me do that.
I see how you put it, but that's not true. What about Title 18 USC Section 241?
So Williams, do you want a trial on Monday or not? You can't argue this stuff to the jury.
Yeah, I want to go to trial, but I can't.
Okay. You can't argue this stuff to the jury. You can argue that maybe something, making sure that they didn't check the things. Like, you have to follow the law. I have to treat you as an attorney in that place on Monday. So I have to treat that you know how to practice and go about the way of law. And these different things, like, you can't just give the jury cases and stuff like that. That's not what it's going to be about. And you'll most likely end up with objections that I'll have to sustain, because it's going to be talking about the facts of these particular cases where the officers came today to show up. So it has to stick to those things about what the officers came to argue about, or what Attorney Mason will make the argument for and the officers came to testify about.
What are they testifying about?
About these different stops.
Which is unlawful.
Different
like,
tickets. Okay. Well, I gave you plenty of time to write a motion about unlawful, and you did not want to.
That's
so now
asking
we're here.
permission. I gave you affidavits stating the facts, what you needed, and
Exactly, and the facts are to be argued before a jury. If they differ from these facts that on the tickets, we're here to talk about these tickets. I've already made my ruling long ago that they had the right to stop, and that these tickets are the tickets for which they wrote them for.
yes, they have a right to stop persons, but I'm not a person. I'm a human being. I have no contract with the Secretary of State. I'm traveling. I'm not driving. I'm not driving for gain or profit. I'm going to point A to point B, not violating nobody's rights. I'm just traveling freely, like I exercise my constitutional rights. Like Title 18 USC, Section 241.
We talked about, I let you have a whole hour of time to discuss all of these previously, Mr. Williams. We talked about all of these, and at the end I made the ruling that the court did have jurisdiction and that the officers could write tickets.
You haven't explained jurisdiction.
I don't have to explain anything. It's not my job to explain it.
But you said you did explain, but you didn't.
But I said I allowed you to explain it. Do you need to put it up on YouTube?
But the burden is on the prosecutor.
Right, not on me. I'm the court. I just call balls and strikes.
And the prosecutor cannot state how she has jurisdiction.
Okay, Attorney Mason, do you want to state how you have jurisdiction over these matters?
Statute provides us with the jurisdiction over this matter. The statutes and the laws of the court provide us with the jurisdiction over these matters.
That's subject.
I am empowered by the state. I am empowered by my bar card, which has been submitted to the state of Michigan. I'm empowered by the city of Detroit.
That she still not stating. I gotta object to that because she's not stating how she has jurisdiction over.
She's telling you it's by the statutes. The statutes that were given.
Statutes is not law.
Okay.
I'm obeying by the law.
So you want us to call them laws? Laws are statutes. They're the same thing. It's just a fancy way of saying laws. Statutes are just a fancy way of saying laws.
Statutes are persuasive. Laws are mandatory.
These are laws. Okay, statutes are laws. That's just a fancy way of saying laws.
Yeah, they derive from the law.
Yes, rules and regulations are laws. A straightforward way to understand this is by looking at something familiar, such as speed limits. When a posted limit is exceeded, the violation is not merely a suggestion ignored. It is a breach of a legally enforceable standard established through the legislative process. Statutes are written, debated, enacted, and codified precisely so they can be applied consistently, and administrative rules exist under the authority granted by those statutes. Together, they form the framework that governs conduct in practical everyday contexts. In other words, laws are not mystical proclamations or abstract ideas. They are formally adopted legal requirements that carry real consequences, regardless of how strongly someone insists they should not apply.
At this point, Your Honor, I'm going to
rules and regulations.
I'm going to just make a motion that these matters have already been resolved. That the court has previously stated that the trial was set forth regarding the facts of the incidents that have arisen, and that the witnesses will testify only to the facts regarding the tickets.
What are the facts?
The facts are the things on the ticket. So you have to research the law and find out exactly what each one is to show.
According to Michigan Vehicle Code 257-744A, police officers knowingly make a false statement on the citation is unlawful.
Okay.
I travel with a passport. My ID been canceled since 2018, so none of that is true.
Just because you cancel your
Look it up.
ID, and this is the last argument for today, and then we're just gonna have trial on Monday. Just because you cancel your ID doesn't mean now you have the right to drive in the state of Michigan. That's not the law of this state. When you avail yourselves of the roads, the lights, the streets, the anything, once you take part on those items, then you automatically allow yourself to avail yourself to any laws that are being taken place, any statutes that are being taken place, any codes that are taking place. All of those now become active, whether you want them to or not. There's no, I don't want them to.
They become active when you agree to the stipulations.
You don't have to agree. It does not say that. We have stuff called strict liability crimes. And those are crimes that automatically kick into place whether you agree for them or not. And that's what these are. Whether you agree or not, they are things that must happen. So
I agree that certain people, I agree.
9:30. I'll see everybody at 9:30. Listen, either you're gonna take
I
care of
agree
these
that
things.
certain persons need to be governed, but everybody is not to be governed. Certain people know how to govern ourselves.
And that brings us to the end of today's video. His in-person jury trial was scheduled for Monday, so I waited to see whether the court would upload the footage, but so far nothing has been posted. I did review the case record, however, and the disposition is still listed as pending, which likely means either the system has not yet been updated or the proceeding did not move forward as scheduled. We'll have to wait for confirmation to know what actually happened. If you found this breakdown informative, consider liking the video. If not, feel free to hit dislike. And as always, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for future updates.